The North Stars, one of the outstanding young gymnasts here and throughout the country. Incidentally, the meet director is Mary Wojnarowski, and certainly she deserves a great salute from all she has done, and all that the parents of the North Stars, their association, have done to make this such a tremendous event.
Now, we should look to see if Joyce uses what she's used on the vault to impress us, and we know she's going to impress us in floor, the height. Yes. See, her scissors leap was higher. Her pike jump is higher. And I don't think she honestly has a low thing in her. Everything is just so airborne. Let's take a look at her flight series, which this looks like it is. Aha. 2 back handsprings and a salto. That is she didn't need that to win this meet. That's being very gallant. She'll fulfill her requirement. She meets it, but she will lose the 5/10 for the fall. The shoes she has on, lots of the gymnasts now are trying to train in shoes. One of the problems with the level of work, the better gymnasts, especially a gymnast like Joyce who tumbles on the beam, even though padded, is very hard and your feet get really, really sore. So gymnasts who have lots and lots of difficulty tend to wear as much on their feet as they can manage and still keep their balance just for a little padding. There's that front salto, and it's nicely done. Kick over salto. She looks more relaxed in the second part of the exercise now that she's fallen off on her dreaded layout. She looks like she's more into her routine.
And this, I'll bet, will be a double back somersault.
This is getting ready for something awfully hard. Double salto, sky high.
Beautifully done.
Came back really strong. And that cheered the heart of Ida Wilborn, who's by our side here.
It's not going to cost her the all-around by any means. She's going to go better than a 9, I believe, even with the fall. The form, she was a little poor. I think, again, if she would have stood up instead of putting her second foot down, we'd see a gymnast on the beam. And this is called getting experience, which she would like to obtain before she makes her bid in 1988 in Korea.
It's a terrible feeling for the gymnast, though, to have all of your body weight off to the side of the beam and only your feet on. There's no way you can stay, as we saw with her layout.
In my program, we used to have different little things we do, and one of them was wish day. And one of my gymnasts used to wish, you know what their wish was? They all had the same wish. They wanted me to come up with a way that you could get experience. It was less painful. They wanted experience without tears.
It's going to be 8.90. That's a very fair score. Fair. It was a nice routine, but of course with the fall, that cost her a half a point.
And a few little wobbles and a few little form errors and the stepping back and the dismount. And now, Sanja.
Incidentally, the highest individual score of anything so far tonight has been Joyce Wilborn, 9.8 when she did the vault.
I fell in love with this gymnast at this competition 1 year ago. And the event that made me do it was this event. She is balletic. And she does dance, so I'm going to be as quiet as I can be, other than to say she's hurt. Remember that, so she hasn't practiced tumbling and is not doing the hardest tumbling she is capable of. Watch the pointed toes, the knees, the precision, and the sophistication, which we have not seen too much of so far today. Really lovely. Tumble again. Double back again. And notice how beautiful. Aren't her legs lovely the way they're together? Most gymnasts still use the legs apart. And look at the feet again and the toes. You see that on Soviet gymnasts, but we haven't seen it so often on Americans recently. She is indeed lovely. I think, though, we're seeing her injury produce some introspection on her face instead of performance, which I think is going to cost her. Everything else, I think, was just perfectly lovely.
Very dramatic performance for her.
Last year, she was really into it. She was at her height.
But there were still
those injuries this year. I think
it's really hard, and she's not ever had to prepare herself without practice. But still in all, there was not really an error in the exercise. She stepped slightly laterally out of her double turn, and that's, if you wanted to be a real, real heavy judge, 500s. Let's look at the legs together and the toes pointed during the salto. It does my heart good. She is indeed a very artistic gymnast. And by the way, did you know what the name of our sport is?
Yes. What's this?
The name of this sport, to differentiate it from the other gymnastic sports, is called artistic gymnastics. And it makes me feel good to see that happening. Bart Connor
Here's the score.
Artistic gymnast.
9.45.
It's nice.
Very nice.
We have another rotation coming up. First, I want to thank Ed Nepper, the executive director of the USAIGC, and congratulate him. You're really doing a great job with these clubs, and we're seeing the result right now.
Well,
Ed?
thank you very much, Bob. It's a pleasure to be up here, and it's always nice to have Muriel and Paul come in and help us out because they're so knowledgeable about our sport. I'd like to thank them.
We thank them, too.
And thanks very much, Ed, for your leadership. We really do appreciate it.
And your representation on behalf of women.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more in just a minute. How close this is. North Stars barely in front of the Marvitines, just barely in front of the Gym Cats, and then a little bit in front of the Burks. This is the last rotation. So here we go, and this is it for the big championship coming up as the tension increases.
It gets very intense right now for each competitor because every 10th can make that decision which team will win and who will be second, third, or fourth.
I will say that I think the Gym Cats could possibly stand up to the pressure and handle beam as a last event, but it's definitely a disadvantage in the draw. I would rather be on floor any old day. On the other hand, our first gymnast on floor did have a miss, so we'll see.
Kerry Dooley of the Marvitines, 14 years old, a lot of tension.
Common each dismount. Nice dismount, and the first one of those we've seen today, and we usually see quite a few.
By the way, there are 8 on the Olympic team, the women's team, 6 compete alternates, and some who are here may be on that team. Minimum age 15 by December 31st of the Olympic year, and of course, right by my side is Muriel Grossfeld, who is the former coach of that team. And also, Muriel, looking at your things, you actually really headed the national head for the women's gymnastics for a long time.
Yeah, I was the first national head coach for our country. And it was an exciting time because we truly went from the dark ages and nobody knowing about us or even knowing. When I made my first gymnastics Olympic team, people used to ask me if I lifted weights or if I worked on that horse with the handles. And that was better than what some other people thought. They didn't even know what a gymnast was. And it was an exciting time period. It's nice to know that your sport has arrived to this level.
Karen Cameron is getting set now from North Stars from Mountain Lakes, New Jersey.
And this is tense because she has to hit because their first gymnast just finished on floor and she missed on her first tumbling pass.
Yeah, 8.3 was her score, so they've got to throw that one away. They can't have a lesser score.
Right, so they
than
need these next 5 scores to at least be in the range of the 5 best beam scores. But again, it's easier to fall off the beam than it is off the Frex mat. But the harder your routines are, the greater opportunity for missing, too. And the North Stars have a lot of difficulty in floor. Double twist, nicely done. Conservative approach, but if I were the coach right now, I would be definitely thinking in terms of only doing the material that I was sure my team could handle because they've been holding down first. I think they can hang on to their lead just by being a little bit conservative and hitting.
And she's an excellent dancer, so we're going to see her dance for her credit in the difficulty area.
She is the state and the regional floor champion, and she's 15 years old.
Now, the judges look to see if a salto is above your eye height. They use the shoulder as the area where you shouldn't be that low. That's the first full I've seen below shoulder height. It'll be interesting to see if it's identified or not. I think that the judges will not identify it. We will see. She's very clean. Clean means straight legs, pointed toes, not any errors that are big enough for judges to deduct. May not be the best, but there's never a deduction on her little connections. She's been hanging in there.
Beautiful triple turn on her feet and then a triple turn on her hands, and here she comes for a dismount.
Very, very precise, exact, positive full. So the judges are going to have to search. I don't think they're going to pick up on the second tumbling pass. Usually late in meets, you don't. But we've seen gymnasts with excessive difficulty have trouble scoring much more than a 9.2 in this event. So this is going to be interesting to see what happens here.
And as we take a look at the replay, just speak about the North Stars, which is true of all these teams. They come in, practice from 2:30 to 7:30 in the afternoon, 5 days a week, compete on the weekends. That's 25 hours per week in practice, and that, by the way, is year-round.
That's right. You can't, if you allow your gymnasts to take too long of breaks, physically you lose strength so rapidly, but that you cannot regain it, and you would end up with gymnasts being hurt because they have to maintain a physical level to match. I think when you get to your 20s, that then you can take breaks and do well, and I hope all of these girls stay in the sport long enough to be able to do that, to have a lesser work week.
It basically becomes a lifestyle much more than a sport.